Hey friend, welcome to Self-Transformed, a podcast redefining self-care through simple fitness, nutrition, and mindset habits. I'm your host, Emily Nichols, certified personal trainer, Whole30 coach, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. Hey, I know the struggle is real when it comes to taking care of you. I too am a busy working mom who felt physically and emotionally drained until I took action on my own transformation journey. I finally found the solutions to feeling confident and living a healthy lifestyle that doesn't feel hard, and now I'm on a mission to equip you with sustainable tools to help transform your life from the inside out, guilt-free. Together, we will simplify your health and fitness into daily habits that don't feel like another thing on your long to-do list, but daily actions that light you up instead. So if you're ready to redefine self-care and step into your own self-transformation, then let's do this. You're listening to episode 108 of Self-Transformed. Hey friend, welcome back to the show. I feel like we should all take a collective big deep breath right now. Okay, let's do it together. Ready? Breathe in with me. And out. I don't know about you, but this month has felt very overwhelming. I can't believe it's mid-August now when this episode is dropping. It is my brother and sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Ange and Andy. I love you guys. But this month is just busy. The kids go back to school and you feel like, that would give you more time. But actually, I feel like it gets even more chaotic because now you're, sports are maybe coming back or you have homework to do every evening and you're on a more of a fluid, not so much of a fluid schedule like you are in the summer. It's a little bit more structured and sometimes that may throw you off. So take a big deep breath. We are all in this together, girlfriend. Seriously. So let's get into today's episode. Before we do that, I want to mention, friend, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is very exciting. So Self-Transform You Live is coming back. It is the group coaching live experience of Self-Transform You, the course, my signature 6-week program where we go through the 6 weeks together to help you change from the inside out, really creating habits that will stick for life, a health plan that will stick for life. And it's all backed by proven habit strategies. I love to geek out on habits. I'm a behavior change specialist, which just means that I geek out on habits. But this is a health plan you can actually stick with. So it's coming back September 7th. Okay, I can't wait. That's not that far away. You can go to selftransformu.com/live to learn more about it. However, this week, Monday the 16th of August, 2021 through Friday the 20th of August at midnight Eastern, I am offering $100 off of STU Live. What? $100 off. This is a flash sale just over Monday through Friday this week. But I'm not going to tell you the code. If you want to know the code, you got to come over to my Facebook community. So go to bit.ly/selftransformedfam, F-A-M, because we're family over there. Because guys, I offer so much extra free workshops and coaching and just community over there. Connecting with other women is such a high form of self-care. And I know it's hard to make friends because, hello, we're all overwhelmed and busy right now. Okay, so I am putting the discount code in the community. So if you want to get $100 off and start STU Live September 7th with us, go to bit.ly/selftransformedfam in order to get that discount code. In the meantime, you can always go to selftransformu.com/live to learn more about this signature 6-week program. I'll be talking about it a little bit more sprinkled in here over the next couple of weeks on the podcast, and I will be hosting a free workshop at the end of the month. More details to come. Y'all, I'm so excited. Head over to the group so you can get $100 off STU Live. If you've been thinking about doing it, this is your sign. I know I love me a discount and a coupon, so go for it, girlfriend. There's always a link in the show notes. Okay, let's get into today's episode. I have been wanting to bring on someone for a while to talk about body confidence because I know it's something we all struggle with. And I hear a lot of that from the gals in my community. It makes me think back to, I went to Florida every year, to St. Pete Beach in particular, with my family every summer for vacation. Okay. And I had a great aunt and Uncle Kenny. Uncle Kenny and Aunt Dorothy lived down there, and they were amazing people. So fun. I always remember Aunt Dorothy drinking hot coffee on the beach. It was just amazing people. But I remember one time we were over at their house, and they lived in this little retirement community, and they had this little pond, and we were fishing, and I was wearing shorts. Maybe I was about, I don't know, 6th grade. And I'm sitting there, and Uncle Kenny goes, "Oh, girl, you got big thighs," or something like, "Oh, you got big legs." I never forgot that. And ever since then, I cannot get out of my head that I have big legs. I have big thighs. I have big legs. I don't look right in jeans. I don't have that thigh gap or whatever, which is stupid. But it's just what we've been, drilled into our heads with social media and diet culture, right? Isn't it interesting how one little comment can just manifest and grow in your head? I'm going to be 40 this month, and I was I don't know, 10 or 11 years old when Uncle Kenny said that to me, and he didn't mean it mean, but I remember him saying that to me. So, and I know maybe you have had a similar experience, girlfriend. So I wanted to bring on my friend Jessika Brown of Fuel Her Awesome. It's an amazing podcast. I'm going to be on her show very shortly as well to talk about how to overcome bullying our own bodies. So let me tell you a little bit about Jess. So she is a registered dietitian, and she's been working in the health industry for the last 13 years. And she runs a medical nutrition therapy clinic, and she has certifications in eating disorders, sports dietetics. She's a certified wellness coach. She's a group fitness, and she has a certification in group fitness as well. And pretty much what all that means is, she says, she spends her days knee deep in food talk, specifically sports nutrition and making peace with food. So Jess shares very vulnerably a little bit about her own experience with an eating disorder and just the reality of being a mama to the stereotypical mac and cheese nuggets kids, right? So she's grown into a relationship with food and her body that is somewhere between intention, grace, discipline, and with sprinkles of flexibility. I love that. I love that so much. So like I said, she is the host of the Fuel Her Awesome podcast. Okay, so make sure to go listen to that to get some further inspiration on how you can live a life fueled by grace and flexibility. I love that so much. So we get into a conversation about body confidence. Jess gives us some really great tips to overcome the narrative we keep telling ourselves. Like with me, I'm like, oh, I got big thighs because that's what I've heard over the years and manifested in my own mind. She gives some really great tips to start accepting your body and loving your body. And I know you're going to be really inspired by this conversation, just like I was. As always, make sure to stick around to the end of the episode to hear my 3 biggest takeaways so you can start taking action today. So let's get into this conversation with Jess Brown of Fuel Her Awesome. All right. Okay, here we go. Well, hey, gang. Thanks again for tuning in to Self-Transformed. I have Jess Brown from Fuel Her Awesome on the show today, and we are going to have an amazing conversation. I can't wait for you all to hear it. Jess, welcome so much to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm so glad we connected. We actually have worked with the same coach, and I was wanting to bring on someone to talk about body confidence. And she mentioned, oh my gosh, you have to have Jess on the show. So I'm so happy the way things intertwine sometimes and we end up into each other's paths. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to be here. And it's funny, like we were just talking kind of before we jumped on here about how podcasting opens up these super cool doors to just connect with people. And yeah, I'm excited to dive into our talk today.
Yay, it's the best. Okay, well, let's get into it. So Jess, the first question I ask every guest on Self-Transformed is, what does the phrase self-transformed mean to you?
I love that question. It's a great way to kick off your podcast. And when you sent me that, I thought, it's funny when I get those questions, I don't actually have great words for it, but my brain is so visual. So I imagined like this woman being like shackled and chained and like wrapped up in like mummy wrapping, and then letting all of that go and like being broken free from all of that, like so much to the point that she grows wings and starts to like radiate this almost palpable energy. So I don't have like a verbal answer, rather this image that came to mind of just being free from a lot of the stuff that constrains us.
I love that. No one's given a visual interpretation of that. That's so cool. And that's why I asked the question, because everyone has their own interpretation of it. I love that. But like you said, breaking free, kind of finding like the true version of yourself. And I love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Well, let's spread some wings here, girl. I like it. I like it. Well, Jess, can you share a little bit with our audience about maybe your own transformation story, kind of what you do and who you are today, and kind of what has led you to this point today?
Totally. So my story goes back to, well, I think most people can relate to this, like being in high school and insecure, and like, I think I had a lot of the really normal high school insecurities, like the boy bullying. Like one time, this was middle school, this really did follow me for a while, but I had one guy send me a letter in the mail. This is when mail was a thing. I'll show you how old I am. Sent me a letter in the mail with like a card that said, "You're part of the itty bitty titty committee." And this, like these pictures.
He mailed it to you.
Mailed it to me. And I'm like, ugh. So like it started with a bunch of that stuff, just the narrative started going like not good enough. And I went to college, and in college, that's really where the insecurity really came to like a pivotal moment and was really running my life. And I developed an eating disorder. So I was actually living in a dorm room with three other women. So there were four of us, and every single one of us had some form of an eating disorder. So I had bulimia. My direct roommate had anorexia. The other two had between binge eating and some form of disordered eating. So we just were a mess. And it was really a difficult and dark place to be, and something that, I look back on, and it still like gives me this icky feeling, because it just was a bad time in my life. And so came out of that, and really what it was returning to my faith and getting kind of back in alignment with my values. And I was able to pull myself out of the eating disorder, return to what I found most valuable in the world. And my transformation really happened, I think, when I saw my best friend, the one with anorexia. She went and saw a dietitian, and the dietitian saved her life and really transformed her. And so I was kind of in this space of like, all right, faith is what I'm returning to. I'm starting to realize I can't carry this eating disorder forever. Like I can't stay here, but I don't really know what to do. And when that dietitian saved her life, I thought, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to learn. And so part of it was me looking for my own healing, right? Because I was in the depth of an eating disorder and I wanted to know more about food. But it really put me in this place of like serving others and taking some of the struggle I had to help other people. And all of a sudden, here I am, a dietitian, like fast forward a few more years and I become a dietitian. And now I'm helping women with eating disorders. I can't ever like go back to that eating disorder stuff again, because it would compromise what I do.
Sure.
And so I think it wasn't like a light switch that just flipped. I mean, it was many years of unpacking and some therapy in there and a lot of great support systems. I mean, I have an incredible family and a wonderful husband that really helped me heal. But I think really moving into this role of serving others and taking the stuff I had struggled with and finding a way to help other women was where I found like sustainable transformation.
I like that, sustainable transformation. Like you said, in the role, you're serving others now. And for you, that's something that's on your heart and so important. So you're like, there's no way I could go back, because I would never tell a client to do that. And they're counting on me. They're looking at me as maybe a role model for them.
Yeah, it's like a healthy pressure, right?
I like that, healthy pressure.
It keeps me accountable, which is, we all need that, because I believe in 100% recovery from an eating disorder. And I believe you can close that door and never go back. But I do think some of the challenges and that narrative will come knocking again. And to stay in a space of recovery and keeping your mind in a healthy place, it does take discipline and it's a daily choice. And
Mm.
so, yeah, some of that healthy pressure has definitely helped me along the way.
I like that, healthy pressure. That's so good. That's so good. Well, and I can relate to that as well, because, I remember little things people said here and there throughout junior high, middle school is usually a lot of times when it starts. And then in college, I remember, like going to like the rec center and like waiting in line on the elliptical because all these girls are wanting to get on the elliptical machine or the treadmill, and spend like as long as you could on there to burn as many calories as possible. So it would kind of even out like the late night pizza or drinking or whatnot, and just wanting to look a certain way. And I feel like that's such a pivotal period in women's lives where body image really starts to become a struggle for us. And a lot of my clients that I work with through Self Transform You and in our Facebook community, every time they come in, some of their biggest challenges are, I'm just not confident, or I struggle with the way I look. And even I still do that now. And I'm a trainer and I still struggle with that sometimes too. So why do you feel like it is that women just struggle so much with body image?
Oh, that's a good question. And I think there's many things that contribute to body image. I mean, some of it, at the darkest point, there's a lot of trauma that women experience, whether it's, we call it big T trauma or little T trauma, which is big T trauma is going to be like loss or a traumatic event, like a car accident or a sexual assault. And then there's little T trauma, which is like, I went homecoming queen and all my friends decided they didn't want to be my friend anymore, and that, even though that's not maybe as like what we would say traumatic, it's still, the brain responds to it the same way. So I think life is hard and really hard things happen. So I think that is definitely a contributor. And then on top of that, we have diet culture, which is this whole world that tells us that women need to look a certain way. There is a right body, that if you embody this certain appearance or this certain like silhouette, that you're doing it right. And there's a lot of pressure to be there. So I think, I just think it's there's many reasons that we start feeling terrible, but we put those two on top of just normal life, and it's a battle. It's an uphill battle.
Yeah. And social media doesn't help for sure.
Oh my gosh. I know. I just saw a client yesterday. She's one of my favorites. She's in high school and we're working through an eating disorder. And she was like, I woke up feeling great. Like I felt so positive in my body. And then by 1:00, she was repeating the negative narrative. She's got this whole list of what she calls herself. And I was like, well, what happened? Like what happened between noon and 1 that triggered all this? And she's like, I don't know. I mean, all I did was go home. I ate lunch. Maybe it was the food. She's trying to blame the food. And I was like, no, what else happened? She's like, I don't know. All I did was get on TikTok. And I'm like, let me see your TikTok feed. And so I get it. She pulls out her phone and I'm going, girl, nobody's going to feel good after looking at this. Her TikTok feed was horrific. Just like you can imagine, just, all the Photoshopped, all the impossible bodies. And I think we're bombarded with that in social media, all media. It's just everywhere.
Yeah. I think with age, that kind of goes away. It makes me laugh because usually before bed at night, that's the only time I'm on TikTok, and the algorithm has figured me out because seriously, all that's on there for me is like funny dog videos.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I told her, I was like, you need to start following some, are hashtags a thing on TikTok? I'm not on TikTok.
No.
Well, I was like, you got to start clicking on things that are like body positive or recipes, like get them, they've got you figured out. But if you're in a position where you're insecure, like you're pausing, when you're scrolling, you're pausing on the things that are triggering you. So even if you don't click on it, that algorithm's picking up on what you pause on and you're reacting to.
Yeah. Why not switch that algorithm and start like you said, liking body positive videos or just funny dog videos or whatnot. So you're not triggered, or unfollowing stuff like on Instagram, for example, where even if it's like her BFF, she could unfollow that person or just silence them or whatever you do on Instagram. So it's not triggering to you. And then that's okay.
Yes.
For sure. Well, you just had an episode recently on your show and I was just like, hands up, like, yes, this is so good. You were talking about the body image spectrum. And I think this is a really great tool and a really great way to break down and really be analytical of where you personally fall on that body image spectrum. Can you explain that and break it down a little bit for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for listening to that and wanting to spread the word, because I agree. I think it's helpful to understand this idea of like, first of all, what is body image? And most of us think it's like about our body, but body image is actually the perception, the thoughts and beliefs about our body. So it has nothing to do with our physical body. And that's the first thing I want women to know is like, if you have bad body image, the antidote to that is not changing your body. The antidote is working on the mental stuff. Because you change your body, you're fixing the wrong problem. It's like putting a Band-Aid on your toe when you stub, you hurt your elbow. It's not the same thing. And so first, I think breaking that down and getting a really good idea that this is in my head and this is in my mind, regardless of what my body actually looks like, I need to heal my perception of my body. So understanding that, and then knowing that our relationship with our body falls on this spectrum. And at one end of the spectrum, let me back up. Most of us, I think about either we hate our body or we love our body. And it's like a switch, right? It's either I don't want to wear anything, everything looks terrible, or I'm on Instagram and TikTok flaunting my body in a swimsuit. Like it's one or the other. And I just don't believe it's that way. It's on this spectrum where on one end we have, I call it body bullying, which is that narrative that we have, that script that plays on repeat. And it could be the stuff that people said to us, like that guy who sent me the itty bitty titty committee card, just which did affect me for years, where I was telling myself I have a boy body, I have an athletic, not curvy body, and that followed me. So we've got the body bullying, but we don't just move from that to like body love. There's this spectrum. So the next step would be body tolerance. And what this is coming to a space where we tolerate our body as it is. And instead of wanting to like constantly judge it or change it, it's like we can just sit in the fact that, yeah, I might like my arms, but I don't like my stomach. And that just is what it is. Like I'm not trying to actively fight my body in the moment.
Hey gang, cutting in real quick to tell you about my favorite meal delivery service, Cooked. They are a Chicago-based meal delivery service, and let me tell you, my family is obsessed. So Cooked offers chef-crafted meals that are cooked simply with only the purest ingredients, and they have 3 different meal types. So they have signature whole food meals, plant-based vegetarian meals, and even better, Whole30 approved meals. They're an official Whole30 approved meal delivery service. And my husband's last round of his Whole30, this was a game changer. It made his Whole30 even easier, and me too, so I wasn't cooking all the meals, and the meals were delicious. We're still ordering them every week within our food freedom. So head over to eatcooked.us and you can use the code EmilyNichols15 to receive 15% off your first order, and then EmilyNichols5 for every order after that to receive 5% off your meals. So go check out eatcooked.us and let me know your favorite cooked meal that you receive. You're gonna love it.
So that would be the next step. And then the step beyond that would be body appreciation. And this is where we start to pull in, like, what can your body do? If you hate your legs because you feel like there's so much cellulite, instead of sitting there, let's talk about what your legs can do. Can you do squats? Does it allow you to pick up your kids? Can you walk with your spouse? Like, what do those legs, what functionality do they serve? And that's where we can get into the gratitude space. And that's a really important place to sit in for a while, because that gratitude actually changes how we interpret our body. And it opens up this space so that we can then move into the last place on this spectrum, which is body neutrality. And body neutrality is really my goal when I'm helping women. It's not so much like, I want you to feel so great in your body that, like you said, you're flaunting it and, showing it off, which if you want to get there, awesome. Like, I am in your corner,
Right.
But it might feel a lot far-fetched to a lot of women. So really moving them into this place where they don't necessarily need an awareness of what they look like, and they can pay more attention and put more emphasis on what they're doing with their body, how they're living in their values, what their relationships are like, than they do what they look like while they're engaging in all those activities.
I love that so much. I'm so glad you pointed out that a lot of it is how we feel about our bodies, not necessarily how our actual body looks. It's how we feel about it. I mean, you got to think of it this way. Like you see a picture of yourself and sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I look so big there. Or sometimes you're like, oh, I look pretty good there. And that's actually just the way you're interpreting and looking at your body. But maybe it also just caught you on a day where you're just not feeling so good about yourself.
Right.
You don't evaluate it in the most true lens as well. Do you feel like people can move fluidly along that body image spectrum? Like they'll stay on one end or they'll be in the middle or they'll go back and it fluctuates?
Such a good question. Yeah. So you definitely move back and forth on this spectrum. So it's like once you get to body neutrality, you don't stay there forever because something happens, right? You have a baby. I mean, body changes happen as we go through perimenopause and menopause. There's always something. And so, but the cool thing about it is once you're able to identify where you are and get to that place of body neutrality, next time you get kicked back to body bullying, you know what it's like to go back to body neutrality. So you can work your way back there faster and faster every single time.
Yeah.
I think there are triggers, right? We are women and there's always something, always.
Sure. Do you feel like, I know the answer to this, but women struggle more with body image than men?
I used to feel like that was a strong yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anymore. I mean, we're seeing the research is actually showing more and more men have body insecurity and body dysmorphia. And I will say in the last, 3 years, I have seen more men walk into our clinic than most people would imagine. And it's not this, it doesn't present the same. So women, it tends to be, we always feel like we're fat and we're too big and we're taking up too much space, which is, I think, a whole metaphor about, women and taking up space and probably a totally different topic. But with men, it's kind of the reverse. It's like, they're not big enough. And it's like Superman syndrome. They want to look like a superhero and their muscles can't get big enough. But so, I think it presents differently, but I definitely think it's there.
Yeah, for sure.
Or taboo.
Yeah. I think about my husband, like he's very, very fit now. And we both have been on our own wellness journey before where he's lost a lot of weight and became healthier again, like mentally and physically as well. But, he's a marathon runner. And when he's marathon training, he gets like super duper trim, like ridiculously trim. And he's usually training in the summertime. So he's like sweating like buckets, like crazy. And then when he's not marathon training, he's like, oh, I've gained some weight, or, oh, you can't see my 6-pack as well. And I don't think he really cares, but I think he kind of cares a little bit.
I mean, it makes sense. They live in the same culture, right?
Yeah.
I think their bodies aren't paraded as much as women's bodies are, but they live in the same culture and they have the same pressures. We call it body checking, which is like when you walk by a mirror and you're like checking out, like, does my arm look okay in this, and I see men do it all the time.
Oh, totally.
All the time.
My husband does it all the time. My 13-year-old does it.
Yes. I just think it's our culture that tells us, the way you look is most important. So we got to kind of like check it out, like make sure, do I look okay? That kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, what would be the biggest piece of advice you would give to a woman listening to the show who's really struggling with their own body image? And keep in mind, the majority of women that listen to this show, they are busy working moms. They are just all over the place. And a lot of times they're like, I want to feel good about myself, but I don't have to take time. I don't have the time to take care of myself, or I feel guilty when I do. Thus, I don't like the way I look. So what would be the biggest piece of advice you would give to them who are struggling today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, even in hearing you describe that, I'm thinking of like the all or nothing thinking. Like I don't have enough time, so I'm going to do nothing. Or it just, when we get in this state of all or nothing, it's like we're attached to perfectionism and it paralyzes us. And so we're not able to make these changes. And in reality, if we're not focused on our bodies so much, like if we're really looking at taking care of our health, it's the little things that add up and matter. It's like, you don't have to go to the gym and do a 60-minute gnarly workout. I mean, if you can get 10 to 30 minutes of just something that gets your heart rate up, cool. Well, even if that's housework or pulling weeds, like whatever it is. But I think we really get paralyzed by that perfectionism, and it puts us in the all or nothing trap. And so I guess my piece of advice would be, first of all, notice, am I engaging in all or nothing thinking? And how is my perfectionism here serving as, how is it an obstacle to what I'm trying to work on? And once you can start working through that and identifying that, then it kind of opens up this world of like, okay, well, if I don't have to do it all, what could I do? If I don't have to go 100 miles per hour at the gym, I could squeeze in a 10-minute walk. So I could do that. And that is a cool place to be. And I'm sure you've seen this, Emily, where you see clients start there. Those baby steps are big steps. And over time, it's like, fast forward a year, it's incredible what they're doing, And so, yeah, I think that all or nothing thinking is a trap, but we got to identify it because most of us just live there and we don't even know it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. It's either one or the other. It's like, I am all or nothing. I have no time. I don't want to, move my body. I don't have time to like make food to like eat. So my blood sugar is not low and I'm hangry and like short with my kids and husband or whatnot. Or you're on the other end where you are like, I am eating healthy all the time. I'm restricting. I'm working out like crazy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And there's a way to find like a piece in the middle. We talk a lot about habits in the STU community because that's kind of like the secret sauce to doing everything. But if you do all the new habits at once, all or nothing, then you're gonna fail because it's just too overwhelming for them. So I like that big picture, all or nothing thinking and figuring out where that happy medium is, where you can take the small, tiny steps.
Right. Well, and to your point, it's like, even if they are successful stacking those habits really quickly and they do it really well, like something happens in life. Kids get sick, you go through a season of struggle, like whatever it is, life happens. And those habits are not all going to stick. Like your energy will be required in other places at some point. And if you're still in that all or nothing thinking, then that's when people are like, well, I couldn't get 5 days in this week at the gym, so I guess I just won't work out. And then they kind of go back into a month of not exercising and they're stuck there. So yeah, I think that's really cool that it's like those little things build up to big things over time, and the habits, you can't go all or nothing, can't go 0 to 60 and expect to stay there and not burn out.
Yeah, that's what you're right. That's where the burnout happens. And then that's when you just give up on yourself. And that's, we are so quick to give up on ourselves, whereas we would never give up on our kids or your best friend or a loved one. You'd be like, it's okay. You're just in a season right now, or no big deal. You didn't work out this week.
Right.
Next week's a new week. Yeah. It's just that all or nothing mentality.
Do you see women do that where they get stuck there and then like feel like they're a total failure?
Yeah. Or even I have clients that will start my program and they'll be like, I always start, but then I never finish. I always have the best intentions to like try to like take better care of myself and thus have like more of a positive body image. But then I always give up on myself. And a lot of it, I feel like, comes from, so many past failures in their head where they're like, I started something, I never finished anything, where they always go into something new again. And they're like, well, I'm going to fail this too.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you were just talking about that, it made me think that's where, if we think that changing our body fixes our body image, it actually amplifies that risk of failure, because then when we do fail, quote, I don't think it's failing, but they feel like it's failing. Right. And then that body image stuff comes back full force. And yeah. Okay. So I'm not alone in seeing that.
No. Well, and I feel like it takes time. Like it just takes time and giving yourself grace. And we're so impatient. We live in a world, like where it's instant gratification for everything. And your health and the way you feel about yourself from the inside out, that never ends. That's always something you have to be working on. And you'll go through, last year I was a different person than what I am right now. And in 5 years, 10 years, I'll be at a different point in my life now. And it's all about being able to adapt over time and go with the peaks and the valleys and be okay with that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a journey for sure. It never ends. And that's that arrival fallacy that we have in health, that like we'll get to a certain point, and once I'm there, I'll stay there. And it just doesn't work that way, because again, something happens, you get a diagnosis, or suddenly your schedule changes and you can't make it to the gym the way you could before. Yeah. Yeah. It just sets you up.
And all those negative thoughts start creeping back in.
Oh, I know.
Sure.
I know.
For sure.
But that's where, like, going back to the body image piece, it's like, if we can heal the body image, we will be able to weather those storms so that you don't get thrown off and go back to that all or nothing. It's like, if I feel good in my body, no matter what it looks like, and I'm doing these health goals, I'm chasing after, new exercise goals, I'm adding in these foods, I'm doing what I need to do to take care of my body, and then life happens. If I'm secure in my body, okay, I just adapt and adjust. I just keep going with it, and no big deal. And I'll get back to it when I can. But if I'm still got the body image issues, it's a major, and you'll see it in the clients you work with, right? It's like, you still got the body image, you get kicked off the wagon, and it's total failure. I can't keep doing this. You don't hear from them for a few months because there's so much shame in coming back to us.
Yep. The shame cycle. It's like the fear and the shame cycle are like intertwined, and it just keeps repeating and repeating. But there's so much power in finishing something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. Totally. I mean, and getting there, and when people have, and I always think like there's amazing accomplishment in finishing something and accomplishing something, but there's also, I think, a lot of like luxury in being able to finish something, right? Like sometimes people are just in a good season of life, and we need to like acknowledge this. People who are like crushing it are probably in a good season and not facing some of the battles that other women are facing at that time.
Sure. Gosh, we could keep talking forever.
I know.
Well, I'm going to be on your show here really soon, so we'll continue the conversation over at Fuel Her Awesome. But this was such a great conversation, just what I knew my audience would need to talk about, and open their hearts and their minds today to loving themselves a little bit more in their own body image, and knowing that it doesn't start from the outside, that it really starts from the inside, and that's work. That's work for sure.
Amen. That's awesome.
For sure. So, well, Jess, where can everyone find you, and what is going on with the Fuel Her Awesome community right now?
Yeah. So I just launched the show in January, and it's been a wild, amazing ride since then. I have been fortunate to connect with amazing people like you here and build up some great offers, services for folks. So I did launch an e-course back in May that is available. It's called Food Foundation. So really working on laying that healthy relationship with food before we dive into actually like making healthy changes, right? It's like getting the relationship right. So I've got that going on. This month I'm doing tons of interviews. Yeah, I've got you on. I've actually did 2 more interviews this morning. So interviews all over the place on the show this month. But you guys can find me over at Instagram at JessBrownRD. And my website's jessbrownrd.com. Pretty simple. I tried to keep it simple so folks could find me.
Awesome. Well, Jess, thank you so much for coming on this show. Like I said, I feel like the listeners today are going to get a lot out of it.
Thanks so much for having me. It was wonderful talking to you.
You too. Are you on fire or what? Yes. Thank you so much, Jess, for this conversation. I know a lot of women are going to relate to it because unfortunately, body confidence is something a lot of us do struggle with. So let's get into my 3 biggest takeaways from this conversation with Jess Brown. Number 1, when it comes to transformation, this is what the show is all about, empowering you to have your own transformation in your life, not just physically, but from the inside out. You need to think about it. Is it going to be a sustainable transformation, right? So we always feel like there's a goal in mind. Like if you do have goals in mind, like you want to go run a Spartan race, you want to do this, you want to do that. I think that's great. But we need to be training for life, not just training for an event or training to get in a certain dress or pant size, right? And a lot of times, like Jess mentioned, we're so attached to perfectionism. and I see this so many times with my clients as well, it's all or nothing mentality. Either you are just on point, your nutrition is doing great, you are working out like 6 days a week, like you're getting to bed early, and then when you're not, you're like, oh my gosh, I am face first into ice cream and cookies. I can't possibly work out because I'm not sleeping well, and blah, 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 blah. We can't be attached to that perfectionism because it's not sustainable or real, right? You have to find a middle ground where if you fail, it's okay. That way, when you do fail, because you will, there are going to be different seasons of your life where those self-care habits that we talk about, that we try to incorporate every day to be sustainable, and those unconscious habits that we talk about, they're there to help you, but sometimes it's not going to be enough a couple of days a week when you're just going through something, right? So we need to think about what is a sustainable transformation in your life, and finding that middle ground where you're just feeling healthy, right? You're not attached to what your body actually is, but you're more attached to the way you feel, your actual health. Because look, changing your body is not going to fix your body image, right? It starts from the inside out. It starts from the inside out. So what can you do in regards to your health in order to have a sustainable transformation from the inside out? There's a lot of tips here on the show, but that is personal to you, friend. You got to find that middle ground where you are feeling your healthiest. Okay. Number 2, I think this is a really great point right from the get-go. Jess mentioned that body image is actually the perception of our own body. It's not your actual body. Right? Like I mentioned, how many times have you seen a picture of yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, like I hate the way I look right there. I've done it so many times. And the actual thing about your body image, it's mental. It's not physical. It is mental, not physical. So what is the script on repeat in your head? Are you being a body bully to yourself? I loved that body image spectrum that Jess brought up. Are you being a bully to yourself? And a lot of that comes from mindset. So it's developing a new habit for when you start talking mean to yourself, bullying yourself about your body. How can you change that? How can you change that? There's a lot of pressure, outside pressure from diet culture and social media, like we talked about. If that is affecting the way you are talking to yourself, your mental, the mental script going on in your head, your mindset, unfollow certain people. Start following like hashtag body positivity, or just follow like cute dogs, like funny dogs like I do. Okay. So your body image is not your actual body, it's the perception of your body. Okay. Change the script in your head, girlfriend. And that takes time. That takes a habit to build up over time. And number 3, love this one. Gratitude changes how we interpret our body. Gratitude changes everything. We just talked about body bullying. You might be on the spectrum of body tolerance, or you might be on the spectrum of body neutrality. And like Jess said, you may be moving along that spectrum back and forth sometimes at different seasons of your life, and that's okay. But it all comes down to gratitude. It's really hard to be mean to yourself in regards to your body, bullying yourself over your own body when you're coming from a place of gratitude. You're thankful. You're grateful that you can at least get up and walk. You're grateful that you are able to get up and off the floor with your kids. Thinking of my 13-year-old son, his body has changed since he had his open heart surgery last month, and he's a big golfer. He's a very talented golfer, but he isn't able to golf the way he wants to for 8 weeks. So we actually just had a discussion last week. It's like, hey, when you're able to really start getting back into it, be grateful that you, God was with you during your surgery. You're healthy. You're doing well now. And that you were so talented before, but you got to be patient with yourself as you're building those muscles back up as you've healed. And it's the same thing for us as an adults, regardless of what you're going through. Gratitude for what your body can do, and knowing that it's there. It's your only body, right? God only gave you one body. You got to carry it with you for the rest of your life. So come from a place of gratitude. Be a little nicer to yourself and find that middle ground in order to have sustainable transformation for your health. Okay. I hope this helped you and the way you view your body. Okay, your body is beautiful. God made us in all different shapes and sizes. You know, I see like hashtag body goals like on Instagram, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like to look at somebody with like a 6-pack or whatever they can do. I'm like, but you know, I'm not going to look like that. You know, you got to be grateful for what God has given you. And that takes time. Like I said, that takes habits over time to build those up. But I think with the tips that Jess gave us today, you'll be able to start on that path. And like we mentioned, have a little patience and have a little grace in yourself. And know you're going to be floating up and down on that spectrum of body image, and that's okay. So if you want to connect with Jess Brown, make sure to go follow her at Fuel Her Awesome. I'll leave some links in the show notes as well. And I'll be on her show very soon as well, talking about what else? Habits. Love it. Love it. Jess, thanks so much for coming on this show, girl. I can't wait to have another conversation with you. You're doing amazing things, friend. So gang, just a reminder, STU Live launches again September 7th. If you want $100 off, I know you do, come on over to my free Facebook community to get that discount code. It's bit.ly/self-transformed-fam, F-A-M. And I'm so excited. Like my palms are sweaty. I was so excited to tell you guys. And if you want to learn a little bit more about what Self-Transform You Live is all about, you can go to selftransformedyou.com/live to learn a little bit more. I'm always an open book. I'm always a DM away on Instagram or message me within the Facebook community. I hope today you feel inspired to love yourself from the inside out a little bit more. I'll see you next week, friend. Hey girl, real quick, before you go, if you love today's show and know your girlfriends need to hear this message too, then grab a screenshot, post it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at EmilyNichols22, because the more mamas out there hearing this message, the more empowered we'll all feel to take care of ourselves so we can pour from a full cup. Or the number one way you can thank me for this podcast is to leave a rating and review in iTunes. That way, more mamas will find the show here too. Love you and appreciate you, girlfriends. See you next time.